Welcome to Metal Minutia. I'm Ray. I'm here with Phil.
Hello.
We're here to talk to you about heavy metal in far too much detail. What have you been listening to, Phil?
I'll tell you what I've been listening to. Swedish band Hallis. Band I've been a fan of since their first album, which was around 2016-ish, I think, or 2017.
How many have they got now? 4?
Three full lengths.
Yep.
3 full lengths. The first one's incredible. Excerpts from a Future Past, I think that's called.
Good name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You a fan of Hallis in general?
Yeah, I like. I'm not a huge fan, but I do like them.
Yeah.
I probably should listen to them more. But yeah, I certainly have heard and liked.
Yeah.
I like that film clip they have where they're like they're using all like modern equipment, but it's made to look like a 1970s recording.
Yeah. Mate, of all the bands doing that, of which there are many, and a lot of them do it well, but I think Hallis are at the top of that pyramid, man.
Yeah.
It's effortless.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just they actually had the camcorder already. They didn't have...
Yeah.
They had the new recording computers, but not the video component.
Yeah. Also time travel, but we'll get into that at another point. Or will we? Or have we already got into that and this is now? And then... Sorry. But the one I've been listening to is the second album, Conundrum.
Ooh, that's a good title as well.
Yeah. 2020, this one come out. Got lost in the fog, as you can imagine, unfortunately. I don't think they toured it properly, but the following year, or maybe 2022, I think when the third album came out, they did a few special concerts and they played all 3 albums
nice.
in a row, which we are fans of.
Yeah. All 3, that's a big...
Yeah.
That'd be a 2.5 hour set.
Yeah, it would have been a big night. Yeah, I find myself revisiting the second one mostly out of the 3. I think it might be my favourite. Yeah. Some great songs on here. Strider in particular is probably my favourite song that they've ever done. Strider, what does that word mean to you, Ray?
Confidently striding. It was someone that confidently strides.
Yeah, cool.
What does it mean to you?
Is it not one of the many epithets of
Aragorn? Son of Arathorn?
Son of Arathorn. Ranger from the north and the true king of Gondor?
Yeah. I mean, I think.
Possibly. Yeah. I've also been listening to Danzig 2, Lucifuge.
I had Danzig 1 on yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah.
As you know, I haven't been a huge Danzig fan over the years, but I think it might have been your recommendation that I a few episodes back, way back when, that you said you should proceed past the first album and keep listening, which I did.
Yeah. Don't go too far.
No, very cautiously. Proceeding very cautiously, I assure you.
Yeah. You don't need to get... don't start with
No.
anything this century.
Don't go with 7 and work my way back. I do love... First thing I want to say about this album is I do love bands that call their albums the number that they are and then have a semicolon and a subtitle.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Because it's like, it's like sequels. It's like Highlander 2, The Quickening, or... Police Academy 5, Citizens on Patrol. No, actually, that might have been Mission to Moscow. Anyways, that's not what's important right now.
Police Academy 5?
If
that's not what's important...
If the rest of this episode is not about Police Academy 5, I don't know what to believe anymore. Yeah, so some very cool songs on that album. You tasked me, or maybe I tasked me last time with saying I should give you
I tasked you.
Okay, very good, very good. Just wanted to give you some... I've been on a big Alice Cooper revisit, the entire catalogue. And I've just pinpointed 3 albums, which are... They're not necessarily my favourites, they're not necessarily the best, I don't know, but I just think they're good signposts throughout the catalogue. And I think you do well, you could do worse to listen to these 3 just to get a bit of a general idea. And the first is Love It to Death, which is their third album, 1971.
Jeez, 71 was third.
Man, I tell you what, all right, I'm going to ramble a bit here. The original Alice Cooper band, the first album was 68, I think. Right?
Okay, right, yep.
And the first 7 albums were by Alice Cooper, which was the band, which was five gentlemen. Michael Bruce, Glenn Buxton, Neil Smith and Dennis Dunaway, and singer Vincent Fernier, who took the name of the group for himself by the third album, I believe. I don't know when he legally changed it, but he started going by, taking the name Alice, definitely by the third album. But yeah, the first 7 albums were made and written and by that group, that band as such. And so when he went solo in 1975, which with the gigantic Welcome to My Nightmare album, it was pretty seamless. So a few folks, certainly nowadays don't really know that the original group was a band. I mean, is it that big a deal? Is it not that big a deal? I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I get all up in arms about it. It's like, oh, the original Alice Cooper band, it's the best. But then sometimes I'm like, oh, whatever. You know, like it's all good music and we're all friends. It's fine,
So if they did 7 albums with the band, he probably hasn't done much more than 7 albums solo.
Solo? You'd think that, Ray, but he has.
He's still releasing one a year, is he?
Maybe not one a year, but when you've been doing it for 60 years, even if he releases one every 4 years, he's got 25, 30. That's what we're talking.
Yeah. What can you even do with that?
I can't process it, that's for sure. And I've been working at it for a while now. I'm probably going to take a break. I'm probably going to take a break from this.
Yeah, it's good to have other things that you listen to other than just Alice Cooper albums from 1993.
Yeah, I'm going to take a bit of a sabbatical. But,
okay.
But yeah, anyways, that's a Stone Cold classic and the first one that kind of solidified their sound. That's got hits like I'm 18 and Caught in a Dream.
Yep.
The Ballad of Dwight Fry. Great album. But then the next one I want to highlight is Alice Cooper Goes to Hell, 1976. So by this point, he's well and truly solo and well and truly in his pomp rock kind of phase. He's got superstar producer Bob Ezrin still on board. And there's a bit of like Meatloaf concept-y vibes, because he's, well and truly in the concept territory.
Yep.
And look, I don't know. Is this a great album? I don't know. I don't know anymore because Alice is just such a lovable voice and a lovable character. So when songs are ridiculous or irrelevant, it's like I'm just still having a good time,
Yep.
So let's go to Hell. And then Constrictor from 1986, which is full-on just silly commercial heavy metal. With song titles such as Teenage Frankenstein, Thrill My Gorilla.
So how old is he when this is coming out? A 40-year-old dude.
I don't know, man. I don't think he's aged, maybe? Maybe he is immortal.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But anyway, that's really good fun. Constrictor, that one's called, 1986.
All right.
What's happening on your side of town, Ray?
It's been noted that we don't really talk about Judas Priest much on the show. But
I thought we were going to go one episode Priest-free.
Sad Wings of Destiny is back on streaming services.
I
noticed when I was putting the playlist together for the last episode. So I got to listen to that again. I was out of town and I was driving back to the airport on my way home, and it's like, I'm just going to had the perfect length of time to listen to Sad Wings of Destiny, and I've been listening to it a lot since.
Awesome.
Some good lyrics in that.
Yeah.
I like how Halford is on that album. Compared to later albums where he's a bit more serious, I suppose, but he's a little bit...
Are you saying he's a bit more fanciful in this era?
A bit more not so strict on heavy syllables.
Yeah.
There's in The Ripper, and he's got that in one of the verses, I guess. Oh no, sorry, one of the choruses just has the refrain of, or if you like, jack the knife.
Yeah. And it's not. It's a bit more free flowing. It's not rhythmically on the beat, and it's a bit more. There's a bit of sass to it.
Yeah.
Jack the knife.
Yeah.
Bit of sass.
Yep. And I think it's Deceiver, where he uses lyrics like Neutron Star and that sort of thing, which is it's really cool. But
yeah, incredible. Man, those lyrics on that album and the next two, Sin After Sin and Stay in Class, I don't hesitate to use the word poetic. They really are excellent lyrics. Everything after that, can be either taken as seriously as you like or as ridiculously as you like, depending what mood you're in, because of the heavy metalness of it all. But those albums, that trilogy, truly, truly marvelous lyrics.
Yeah, pretty refreshing.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Rock-A-Roller as well.
Yep.
After your recommendation on the 50-year reissue, and
wonderful.
Yeah, when I put it on, because I'd been at the I saw Rose Tattoo on that weekend, whatever it was. It was at the Rose Tattoo gig Saturday Arvo or Saturday evening. That finished up pretty early, so I'd gone to the old bar.
Yep.
And there was a Doom band, Shipwreck, was playing there, and I caught them.
Good name for a Doom band.
Yeah, it's just 2-piece instrumental, like drums and super noisy, loud.
Wicked.
Yep. And I was coming home from that. Normally, I'd just put on Warning, watching from a distance.
As is your want.
Yeah. But I thought I'd put on something else since I was had already listened to some Doom that night.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I had it on my headphones on the walk home, and it's like, I'm not sure if this is just like the power of suggestion, but this sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So I like did a quick like A/B.
Yeah.
With the because both versions are on Spotify.
Yep.
So no, it actually does sound really good. And then I was listening today as well. But listened to it quite a lot. So thanks for the tip on that one.
Oh, quite all right. I just want to spread the word. Needs to be known. Needs to be revisited.
A little bit of news I want to mention.
Nice.
Lee John Roth.
Woo!
Touring. You got to be excited.
Thrilled. Still probably in shock, actually. You know, I think I kind of knew it was coming, but I'm still a bit flabbergasted. Like it's going to be amazing.
I'm unfortunately going to be overseas at the time.
Raspberries.
Yeah. Swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts, indeed. Yeah, I'm very excited. And everyone in Melbourne, Sydney and Adelaide should be excited. Please go see him.
Early September? Yep.
Early September. 4, 5 and 6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Get to a show if you can. It's truly not only one of the greatest guitar players to grace us on planet Earth, one of the greatest musicians, just an incredible player, incredibly passionate musical intuition, like just cannot speak highly enough. I'm very fortunate to have seen him a couple of times before. Pumped. Really pumped.
On a completely different note, Panopticon.
Yeah, right. Wait, Bluegrass Panopticon or...
Well, so they've got 2 new albums coming out.
All right.
And yeah, one has been billed as a dark folk album and one has been billed as a black metal album.
Yep, cool.
So the last album I wasn't so keen on, but the previous 2 I was very keen on. So I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah, awesome.
Hear this one. We'll hear these 2, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's really great how they go about things, man. Good on them. More power to them.
We're here to talk about epics today. And by epics, similarly to an episode a while back, we talked about ballads and heavy metal. And we sort of had the 4 kind of song types: ballad, the rocker, foot stomper, epics, and fast one, I guess.
Yeah, the up-tempo banger.
Yeah. So we're gonna zoom in on epics today.
Epics.
And I think we have to differentiate between so it's similar to what we said with ballads. Like if all your songs kind of sound like that, for it to be an epic, it has to be distinctively different to what the normal material.
Yes, for the status quo material for the band.
Yeah. So I had to rule out because I like a lot of epic music. I would say like Moon Sorrow or Soul Sphere or all these bands that the average song length would be 9-10 minutes. So I kind of had to cut them out.
Yes, you've hit on an interesting point right away. That's what needs to be defined about the epic is that bands like Opeth or Typo Negative or like a lot of stoner kind of jam bands, Sleep, Electric Wizard, long songs, right? But because that's their normal modus operandi, you wouldn't call those songs epics, because they're just long songs. They're the songs that those bands write. And they have moments of epicness, of course.
Yeah. But
epicness as an adjective and not the noun epic that we're talking about, which is based on like the dictionary definition of epic, which is like, what's an epic? It's a poem, a long poem about a hero. Yeah,
it's got to have like a strong narrative component, I would say. A journey.
Yep.
It can't just be, we love heavy metal type thing for 15 minutes.
Yep. The subject matter has to be heroic deeds, or adventures on the high seas, or Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so actually it was an interesting one to think about because like Candlemass would be a classic for like quite epic music, but they don't actually have any. They don't have a lot of like epic long songs.
They really don't. It's a really good point.
And there's a lot of bands that are kind of like that, or they're all 11 minutes. So, did you have any particular epic highlights that you?
Yeah, I've got a bunch. Like what I did with this is after just thinking about like the definition of an epic, I've just got like my favorite ones.
Cool.
So that might be a kind of boring way to go about this, but I think by talking about it by using songs as examples, we'll probably elucidate a bit more about what the epic means, right?
Yep.
Because as you were just saying about, normal or typical kinds of heavy metal songs that you and I have, fans of, say between 80s, 90s, 2000s. Usual rock or metal song is 4 or 5 minutes, 6 minutes maybe, but that's a long song.
Yeah, what do we call it? Where's the cutoff point here for an epic?
You tell me first. How long does a song have to be? What's the minimum for a song to be epic?
I think I would say 8 minutes.
Really?
7.5 to 8 is my...
I said 7.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, we're not far away.
Yeah, we're not far away, but we're in the minutiae here, man. All right? Yeah. And so if we're in the minutiae...
A lot of things drop off at the 7-minute mark.
Yeah. We're here in the subatomic, man, so we actually really are far apart, man.
Yeah, true.
Between 7 and 8 minutes.
Percentage-wise.
Yeah, you're damn right, man. In fact, this is a rift between us.
This might be the biggest disagreement we've had. Over somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds.
I don't know how we're going to get past this, man. This irrevocable, massive cataclysm. Yeah, 7 minutes. All right, let's say 7.5 minutes. All right.
Yeah.
Let's say 7.5 minutes. So for me, what defines an epic is how long the song is, the structure of the song, and the atmosphere. That was my third criteria.
Yep.
We've just spoken about time, length, but the structure of an epic, you have to have a deviation from the main progress of the song, because otherwise, again, it's just status quo of the song. It's just a long song doing the same thing. So it doesn't have to be necessarily have to be like multi-part, like with a bunch of different sections, but you need at least one, preferably two, breaks that take you to a slightly different place, because you need that return to your place. You need that either the build or the tangent to take you back to your original place, or to get to the higher pinnacle, the zenith. So structure is important to define an epic, I think.
Yeah, you almost have like the 3-act type situation.
Totally.
Rather than like a standard song might be verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. But this is more like a 3-act type situation.
Again, like the poem, like the Hollywood epics, like the classic literature. 3-act structure is the epic leans on that, and to great success.
Yeah,
I say atmosphere because there is an epic has an atmosphere.
There's got to be some tension at some point, and you need all those elements. Yeah,
and that the building of that tension is, let's get in there with one of the obvious ones. We talk about it all the time, but let's use it. Battle Hymn by Manowar.
Okay, yep.
So just,
I was trying to think of which one we talk about all the time.
We talk about all the time, I think it's, what are those things called behind the drum kit? They've got their little...
Oh, the wind chime thing.
Wind chimes, yes. There's the wind chimes. So we've got the guitars and drums crash in. You've got the mournful kind of bass arpeggio and the wind chimes. And it's like, I mean, really the difference between normal instrumentation and epic instrumentation is that $10 wind chime they got down the street, right? But it's all the difference, man. It's all the difference. Like, whoa, something different's going on in this song here. We've got wind chimes. Epic!
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the atmosphere, you've got to kick it up a notch. We've got to know that this is different. We've got to be taken to a different place.
And doesn't he kick it up a notch?
Oh, my word. Several. But yeah, my favourites all over the place. I don't have any kind of chronological order. I couldn't, because epics make up a great deal of our favourite music, I would say, because of our fandom of the genres that we like.
I'm going to start with what I think is probably the archetypal heavy metal epic that is probably what every other epic is emulating in a way. But the Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's it's got to be the first one Iron Maiden did.
Are we gonna? Do you want to get back to that, or I'm gonna disagree, because I think Phantom of the Opera is their first epic, which is on the first album. But that's only a paltry 7 minutes long. Mate.
Too short.
You're probably like Piffle.
Yeah, because hell would be their name would be 6.5 or something, right?
Nah, that's about 7.5 to 8 minutes, I reckon.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's 7 minutes at least.
Okay, it's on the cusp.
Yeah. Well, it's a pass for me, but. But carry on. Rime the Ancient Mariner.
But that's got the narrative.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That's like textbook. Literally textbook. Yes. It's based on a long poem. Man, now we're talking.
And that middle section where, it's it's dramatic, and the bass comes in with,
and
then Bruce's voice over the top when he's doing the curse lives on and on, that part. It's just like exploding into the section that follows. It's I think like Iron Maiden spent a lot of time trying to recapture that in every other album that came afterwards. Yeah,
for the last 40 years, you might say. Excellent call, man. Yeah, you're right to say is even if it's not the we could argue till the cows come home about whether or not it's the first, you know, whether or not it's the first. But you're right in saying it's archetypal because it's for lack of a better word the perfect epic. Like it is, it ticks all the boxes. Yep. Does everything it's supposed to do.
And fucking rules.
Yeah, and it fucking rules. With joie de vivre and Elon. All right, amazing. Yeah, great song. That one, what I like about that song is if somehow you didn't know what that song was about when it started, you might be fooled into thinking it's like, oh, this is just like a sick, 3-minute Iron Maiden song. You're like, oh, yeah, this will be a good album closer, 12 minutes later, you're like, man, really? Is this still the same song? Starts out pretty innocuously, innocuous for an Iron Maiden song anyway. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because a lot of epics kind of cop out by like having a pretty padded start where it's just like a slow intro type thing. Yep. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner does not waste any time.
Doesn't waste any time.
Not up front. Some people might argue.
Time from probably 7.5 minutes to 9.5 minutes. Probably waste some time there.
No, well, it's a matter of
Well,
opinion.
let's say it doesn't mince words. Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, actually, maybe it does mince words.
It's actually a pretty tough lyric, or like a difficult lyric.
See his eyes as he tops one of three.
Mesmerizes
one of the wedding guests. Stay here and listen to the nightmares of the sea. It is verbose and syllabically complex.
Yeah. Unnecessarily.
Yeah, unnecessarily. Having said that, he does manage to. It fits the meter, It fits the meter, and it's not clumsy,
Yeah, like impressively it's impressive that they could do that without being clumsy.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Killer guitar solos.
You mentioned album closer. That's the traditional spot for the epic.
Yep.
You don't open with an epic.
No, not generally. Not generally. Maybe in the last 20 years that Ed Guy do it a few times. But I think that's just because it's never been done before. It might not be the right call, but it's just a good, it's a good twist. Yeah. But we're talking archetype. You don't open with an epic.
No. It's how you bring everything to a climax.
Yeah, a satisfactory conclusion. Yeah. Yeah. I'll throw out one of my favorite album closes. Queensryche, Roads to Madness, from The Warning, 1984.
Yep.
Absolutely one of my favorite songs of all time. It starts as a ballad. Builds to kind of a mid-pace thing with huge choruses, and then there's that symphonic orchestral middle section with a real orchestra conducted by Michael Kamen, I should add.
Really?
I don't know how they swung that.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive for that.
Yeah, and I found out produced by James Guthrie, who had produced like Pink Floyd albums in the past.
Yeah, right.
So imagine your debut album.
What was the budget on it?
Not in character of a mid-80s heavy metal band, I should say. The budget was exorbitant.
Yeah.
They had such hype and such support from the start. It's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of, less surprising now that they got the real Michael Kamen, not a fake one, to conduct a real orchestra. The lyrical topic of this song is... it's pretty vague. It's about being caught in like some kind of surreal dream world and facing a descent into madness. To be honest, it makes very little sense to me. But the picture he paints, is sublime.
Descent into madness can't make too much sense. Yeah.
You're darn right. Actually, yeah, you're damn right. Yeah. I think that's why I'm drawn to it. I like the vagueness. I like the surreal dream-like atmosphere. And of course, goes without saying, it's 1984, so Jeff Tate's vocal performance is astounding. It's absolutely jaw-dropping, and they managed to get 3 good choruses in there, which have different lead-in lyrics, which I love it. I love it when they change the lead-in lyric on, I'm on the road to madness. He says a different preceding line each time. Yeah, the way his vocal rolls off when he says, I'm on the road to madness. They roll off differently each time, and it's just...
Doesn't he have a voice like...
God damn. you know?
Say what you will about Jeff Tate.
And we could. but that voice.
Pretty untouchable singer.
Untouchable, man. And that performance. And that one speeds up towards the end, comes to an epic rockin'... Epic. I just gotta. I'm trying not to use that word as an adjective. Comes to a sublime, majestic finish. Yeah. So Roads to Madness is one of my favourites.
So I would say Blind Guardians, and then there was Silence. So I think Blind Guardian is a band that doesn't have many epics because of my, I guess, time constraint rule.
Yeah.
Where you're a bit more
lenient. I was wondering how you were going to go. Yeah. Wondering how you were going to approach this, and I'm curious. I haven't made up my mind about Blind Guardian, so yeah.
Because they've got a lot in that 6 to 7 minute range, like Curse of Feanor and that type of thing. But yeah, and then there was Silence is 14 minutes, and then there's another one, Wheel of Time on Edge of Time.
At the Edge of Time,
yep.
I think. Yep.
Yeah. And that's about 11 minutes or something like that.
Yep.
But otherwise, they're all, I'd say every song's probably under 8.
Yep.
And then there was Silence is just, about the Trojan War, essentially, and the fall of Troy.
Yep.
And it is just... you don't get to a chorus until I think it's about 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
You've had like 4 different sections.
Yeah.
But you haven't had your chorus yet. And I think there's only 2 or 3 choruses in there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, on Night at the Opera. So it's their album, which was the most bombastic and extreme from a vocal choir perspective.
Yeah, it is outrageous, that album. It's a lot to... process.
Yeah.
Apart from the Wheel of Time song and that song, are there other 10-minute-ish songs in the Blind Guardian? I don't think there are.
No, not.
Yeah. So they stand out as the epics in an epic band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to define that.
They definitely consciously went further with those 2 songs than their standard 5 or 6 or 7 minute epic sounding songs. But yeah.
I have like a mini epic kind of clause.
Okay.
Where like there are songs to me that are epic in nature but don't fulfill my time requirements. You know, like there's a few songs.
There's a mini epic caveat.
There is, and because Candlemass have a few. You know, of course, as you mentioned before, and for Blind Guardian, the songs that strike me is like Lost in the Twilight Hall. To me, is one of the great epics, but it's 5.5, 6 minutes long. I think, and it's not technically an epic, and I wouldn't bring it up in any other conversation about epics apart from this one, all right?
Because you have a lot of them.
Every other day around the water cooler. What's your favourite mini epic? So Lost in Twilight Hall is that immediately comes to mind when we're talking about this.
And then there was Silence I'm going to stay on that for a minute. That's like
you can stay on for another 14 minutes.
But that's a song they actually re-recorded that as well at one point on...
oh my God, because it wasn't hard enough recording the first time? Jesus!
Yeah, the second one's a little bit more stripped back in a way.
Stripped back, yeah, sure.
Well, it wouldn't be hard to be more stripped back, but it's more in that line of the Edge of Time, at the Edge of Time type production.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So it was the greatest hits album they did, or they released... whatever it's called, Memories of a Time to Come or something like that.
Yep.
So they re-recorded a couple of songs on that, and that was one of them. But I know you're not into re-recordings, but...
No, not generally.
But it's not a bad one.
Well, it couldn't be bad, actually it could be.
Yeah.
Bands can and do make bad re-recordings. I just wonder why.
I'm gonna stay on this tangent for a minute, because I have some other news that I remembered. Bruce Dickinson.
No, we can't introduce new information, all right? Okay, it's not admissible in this court.
Bruce Dickinson is releasing a re-recorded version of Balls to Picasso.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The whole album.
Yeah.
There's no song. That's the album. Yeah, right. Wow.
I know, like, it's not a good album, like, honestly.
Man, dude, there's a live album that around that time recorded on that tour. I think it's Alive in Studio A.
Okay, yep.
And they basically play that whole album from start to finish. And I love that live album.
Yeah.
And I like the songs on the live album. I like it how it's recorded there. So to me, when I listen to Balls to Picasso, I never listened to that Picasso album. I listened to that live album. So this is actually pretty... Yeah. This is interesting. Like
you might be on board.
I actually might be on board with that. Wow. Do you know if it's the same musicians?
I guess it would be Roy Z and Bruce, but otherwise would be different. Because I think be 30 years since that album came out, I guess.
Yeah. It's not out of the realm that they would get the original musos, though. I don't think. Because I know that Accident, Chemical and Tyranny have the same, apart from the latter, which is missing Adrian Smith. But that's the same band across those 3 albums. Using that band would, probably yield great results.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious about that.
I suspect it'd probably be the Mandrake Project lineup.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, there you go.
But yeah, it was like I know that I've seen in interviews that Bruce having said that he wished that he'd gotten Rosie to produce it rather than whoever produced it. And I
think Picasso produced that album.
Balls to him.
Yeah. They weren't happy with the results.
Because I'd say the only song that sounds good on that is Tears of the Dragon, which is way too short to be an epic. Although,
unfortunately.
Yeah, otherwise...
But again, epic in nature.
Slots into the ballad conversation.
Yeah,
though.
True.
Enough about things that aren't epics.
Get out of here.
I want to talk about a bad epic.
All right, good. I've only got good ones, so I'm glad you got some. I've
only got the one bad one.
Okay.
But it breaks all the rules.
Yeah, okay. All right. Give me the dirt. What's going on?
I'll run through some of the rules it breaks, so then you can put your hand up when you've guessed.
See if I can deduce. Yeah.
So it opens the album.
Oh. Immediately we're on thin ice, Yeah.
It includes a drum solo.
I've got it. I've got it already. Can I guess? Can I guess off of 2 clues?
Go for it.
Is it Manowar, Achilles...
Agony and Ecstasy. It is indeed.
Yes. Go on, please go on.
I mean, there is so much. How long does that go for? 18 minutes, 22 days? I don't know.
It's 28 minutes, I believe.
Yeah.
2 days. Yeah. It's still going.
And the fact that there's ride song.
Yeah.
What was going on?
Oh man, that is just the height of. Is that not the height of arrogance? Just people listen to this.
Yeah.
No problemo.
Yeah. I'm not going to take your opinions on board.
Yeah. Sane people are telling me stuff. I'm not listening to that.
No. I don't have an exhaustive list of things wrong with that song, but it is just it has all the bits in terms of, it's about Achilles. It's all the rules that we were suggesting earlier.
Yeah.
It adheres to those, but fails to execute.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. Because the rest of that album's pretty good.
Great album.
That album's pretty good.
After that song.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that the Triumph of Steel?
Yeah.
Is there songs that do Achilles more justice? Surely there are. There are.
And then there was Silence, I guess. But
Oh, of course. Yes, of course.
Or the one you spoke about last episode,
the Odyssey. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
but
does Achilles doesn't come up in that reference? It's all.
No, he doesn't. It's purely Odysseus and heading back to Ithaca. So
in the Odyssey, he does at one point. I think he chats to. Well, there's a lot of recounting of what happened in Troy, and
right, yeah.
I think he visits.
He chats to.
Sees the shade of Achilles in the underworld.
Yeah.
Anyway,
when he visits or goes adjacent to the underworld.
That's not what we did.
No, that's for our Greek Myths podcast, which you can like and subscribe.
Halloween.
Keepers
1 and 2 both finish with epics.
Yes, indeed. 2 of the greats.
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
I like Keeper of the Seven Keys, the song.
Yeah.
When they finally tell the story of these concept albums.
Yeah.
Both are excellent, though.
Yeah, totally, man. And true epics because they set themselves apart from the rest of the album fare. The subject matter of Keeper of the Seven Keys makes it more so of an epic than Halloween because of Halloween's kind of just like, hey, it's Halloween.
Yeah.
Here's a frightening tale that took place.
Yeah.
Whereas Key with Seven Keys seems to cover a bit more of a journey, I think, anyways.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. It's definitely a story.
I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball at you, but I know you're going to dig it. Guns N' Roses, Coma.
Oh, yeah.
10 minutes and 13 seconds of wild times.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Many years ago, you'll recall whenever you came to Sydney when I lived there, like I had that older car with a cassette player.
Yep.
And it was always just the only cassette I had was Use Your Illusion 1.
I remember this very well. Yeah. After I'd been to visit you a few times, I was like, is it just coincidence that this am I always on the rotation where this is the tape in the tape deck, or is this the only tape that you own? And I don't know if I brought it up right away. I think I had to ask someone else. You ever gotten to ride with Ray? Is he always just listening to Use Your Illusion 1?
Well, at least it's quite a long album, so you get a bit, you get a fair bit of variety on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Coma, that lasts whatever it is, minute and a half or something, where Axl maybe breathes once.
Yeah, totally, man. It is wild. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the grass communication that has left you in the cold isn't much of a consolation when you feel so weak and old.
Yeah, great vocal delivery, great lyrics.
Yeah.
Like lyrical patterns.
Yeah, lyrical attack, lyrical patterns, lots of twists and turns in the song. It's a good one for like that's truly a musical epic as well because it takes a lot of twists and turns, but it's not herky jerky, you know, like it's really it's fluent, you know.
Yeah.
But because of the subject matter, like it totally reflects what it's about, right? Like it's from the point of view of the fella in the coma, and he can sense what's going on around him, and he's reflecting on his life and, you know, events that led up to him being in the coma, and you hear some characters around him, you know, fighting and squabbling and whatever. And the music is at times like claustrophobic because you feel like you're in the hospital bed, but it's also like, you know, paranoid. Yeah, it's all those things, and that is suggested by the music as well. So like a true a successful song on all those levels. I mean, it's rock and roll as opposed to heavy metal. Like Coma is Guns N' Roses, true rock and roll band. Like it, you know, it's all in the 5 instruments. You know, probably minimal keyboards, even though they have a very active keyboard player. But there's minimal keyboards in that song. Yeah. So it's truly a rock and roll song. I also like in that last section how Axl sings to the very end. Like there's no wind down stadium ending with the guitars and the drums and the crash cymbals. It's just him singing to the very end, like to his final breath, you might say.
Yeah.
You know, like it's really a wild finish.
It does end, and then there's like silence for a little bit, and then
suddenly Matt Sorum gets the last say. Yeah. I want to take us back to the 1970s, a band called Budgie.
Yep.
Big fan of Budgie. They have their very very 70s sounding band, like in the best way, you know, and they have long songs as well. So I struggled with this being, you know, a true epic because they have a lot of 8-9 minute songs that are just like bluesy rambles, you know. So they and because being a 70s band without constraints, like they do have longer songs.
Yep.
But they also have a cornucopia of pop numbers and just rocker.
Bread fan and they,
you know, absolutely, yeah.
Vicious song, that one.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, wild riffing. Yeah, that's like 5 minutes. That's like get in, get out, you know. But this one's called Parents, album closer on the album Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, which is their third album. This one, the subject matter is so emotionally exhausting that it feels epic. Probably like Coma, and like Coma as well. It's it captures the music suggests what the song's about. You can listen to it and you get the feeling, right? It's perfectly plaintive, and the lyrics, to my interpretation, are like that. About that moment you realise in your life that your parents are people too. Oh, okay. And that they're just living their life for the first time just like you are.
Yeah, yep.
And when you have that realisation, there's really nothing quite like it. And it's a very... It's a sad realisation, and it can be a mournful realisation, but it's also very beautiful. It's quite hard to put into words, and I think they fail to put into words, which is interesting. Like, he just kind of dances around it. He just talks about it, you know. Yep. Close your eyes and off to bed. You got school tomorrow. Just really simple things like you hear from your parents, and because the music fills in those gaps, now I'm over 21, growing up, I've had my fun. You know, kind of general like, I had good times. And what this, you know, pretty, you know, not cliche lyrics, but like a general dancing around the topic kind of lyrics. But because the music fills in the gaps so nicely and so plaintively, like, again, I don't know if it's an epic, but it's because it's it's that emotional exhaustion that, and you go on a journey throughout it.
Yeah.
You know, because it rise and falls, has a really nice ebb and flow. You be the judge, but I wanted to.
Okay. I'm not familiar, so I'll report back.
Report back, please do.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, please do.
I had Land by Tia on my list.
Yes! Yes, that is an awesome song.
I think the lyrics from that are like a Nordic poem as well.
Yep.
And, well, translated, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yeah, a lot of it's in...
Yeah.
Faroese? Are they?
Yeah, Faroe Islands is where they're from. So, yep. But yeah, it sounds like an adventure.
Man, I am listening to that today when I get home, I swear. Like, I haven't listened to that in a bit, man. That is an awesome song. Yeah. Yeah.
That whole album is
pretty
cool. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with their entire catalogue, but I do have that album. But I feel like they get a bit more sort of power metal after that.
That's been my experience from listening to the following stuff. Yeah,
but that album's a bit more interesting to me because it's a bit more epic and a bit more folky.
Yeah. Folky, a bit more varied in structure and approach, I think. Whereas, like you say, power metal gets a bit more samey later on. Still enjoyable, but not as surprising. And that album, Land, the vocals, the way they build vocals on top of vocals. And a lot of a cappella stuff, like they'll just the music will just drop out and it'll just be the vocals, and it's just man, it's really it shakes you.
That's really cool. It's pretty unusual for bands to have one great singer. It's rare enough to have a good singer.
Yeah, it's hard enough. Yeah.
But to have like three people that can sing, without just like having session musicians, like the actual band members.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Each voice sits differently as well.
Yeah. And you need that. You need an individual singer overdubbing themselves only gets you so far because there's only ever been one Freddie Mercury, right? Once you start overdubbing yourself, your voice like goes in and out of phase with itself, so it loses power. So you might overdub yourself 10 times, but ironically, it'll sound thinner because you're creating the exact same sound each time. Yeah. Whereas two singers singing the same thing will immediately sound wider, thicker, more substantial. So when you've got three guys who can handle it, you've just got so much texture and it's already so much more substantial. You've got so much more to play with. Yeah. And that's them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Angra, who I've spoken about before.
Oh, yep.
With their original singer, Andre Mardos. Rest in peace. From the album Holy Land, the song is Carolina the Fourth, which is a ship, I think.
Okay.
It's a marvelous song. One of my favourite 90s power metal gems, and illustrates the lyrical content. Again, you're probably sensing a theme here. I love it when the music suggests what the lyric's about because it's probably rarer than you think, you know. Yeah. To suggest the atmosphere of what the song's about without you hearing, that's true musicality, I think. Yeah. And so it's about a ship and about the conquest of new horizons, adventure. Yep. And the rise and fall of the waves, and the struggles, the yearning for the home, but also the yen for adventure, Yep. All of those things are suggested by the music, and they meet the lyrics halfway. And there's a lot of percussion and a lot of varied instrumentation to give it that Caribbean, that old world feel.
Yeah, nice.
And a lot of twists and turns. But also super catchy. It's got 3 or 4 choruses that repeat, and you can get in the mood right away. Yep. They take you to that place and sing along choruses, and you can try sing along.
Yeah,
but
do your best.
You do your best. Sing along vibes, and the song takes you to the instrumentation in the middle of the song where it kind of gets that feeling that, man, maybe they're done for, maybe the ship is sinking, maybe they've run out of steam, maybe, and it brings it down to a whisper, it gets so quiet and then builds right back up. Yep. And, 2-minute twin guitar solo, so
excellent.
Face melter, So, great song, one of my favorites.
It's a bit of a trend. We've got Rome of the Ancient Mariner, Land.
And
this, the Odyssey as well.
Yeah.
We've got 4
Yeah.
Ship-based.
Perhaps oceanfaring is where our heart lies.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
Interesting.
I wouldn't rule it out.
What do you got in the desert? What happens in the desert?
When you were describing that, that song has just it made me think like that's a very similar sort of feel in a different setting, but to land, frontier, longing for home or land, and getting back.
Yep.
Maybe something in that nature of the human spirit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for a long time, crossing the ocean was the biggest unknown.
The great adventure.
The greatest. Like what human beings did before us, to close those borders is astounding. Like people crossing ocean, like getting on that boat and literally sailing into the unknown is just, it's a constitution for which I can't even fathom, you know? Like imagine heading out into that, just...
Might be back in 2 years.
Might. If you're lucky.
Yeah. We're going to try and find the way.
Yeah. Yeah. What's over there? I don't know. No one knows. No one knows what's over there into that great blue beyond. Yep. Wild, man. So crossing land, crossing desert, crossing, forests and plains, like, of course, fraught with all kinds of danger and what have you. But sailing, like on the water, where humans aren't supposed to be. We're not supposed to be in the water. Like, just...
Can't breathe water.
Can't breathe water.
Can't even drink salt water.
No. I reckon James Cameron could, but he can do most things. So...
Okay, and we saw we conquered...
Ah, yeah.
Virgin Steel.
Yeah. Of course.
Which has a bit of an ocean-bound journey to it as well. It opens with the lyric of west wind at my shoulder, north wind at my back, something like that. It's just so we can have a nice rhyme afterwards, I think. But yeah, it ends. It's the last song on one of their.
Does he turn halfway through that sentence so the direction still?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Pivot 90 degrees. Between those two lines?
Yeah, he must have to. but the winds, it's the north wind now, so there's two winds simultaneously.
Those are dangerous sailing conditions.
They are. Yeah, on the Mediterranean, where David Defay feels like he always is.
Yeah.
Even though he's in
Long
New
Island?
York. Yeah, Long Island. But yeah, closes out their excellent album Invictus. I think it's late 90s, 99, 2000, something like that. A fantastic epic song on a pretty epic album. There's a few sort of in the 8-minute range there, but the average is still around 4 or 5.
Okay. Yeah.
So
it still sets apart. Yeah. It still sets apart. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's got this massive ending on it. It's almost like a bit of fanfare. And then it just does another chorus.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. There's always room for one more chorus.
Yeah. That's like a proper encore.
Yeah.
That's an encore.
Encore within the song.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that really is epic. That's stage play. That's theatrical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Virgin Steel, nothing if not theatrical.
Indeed. And there it is.
Are you familiar with that song?
I am not.
That album at all? What's your Virgin Steel? I know you like the earlier stuff.
I hesitate to say this on the air for fear of
retribution.
Violent retribution. We're already at our wits' end with each other after this 7-8 minute thing. So,
not a big fan.
I hesitate to say no. I don't listen to Virgin Steel.
Wow.
I've tried bits and pieces and. But obviously the wrong bits and pieces,
because some of their albums are awful.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything pre-95 is...
Okay. What an odd time to come into your own.
Isn't it just? Well, they have good songs here and there on their earlier stuff, but then
Where's Guardian of the Flame?
That'd be 86 or 87
okay,
something.
so that's my problem then.
That's got a couple of good songs on there, but it's... Oh, no, sorry, Guardian of the Flame's second album. That'd be 83 or 84. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still got Jack Starr on guitar then.
Yeah, right. Good player. I want to take us back to the 1970s, as is my custom. Winterhawk. Winterhawk. Actually, the album is called Revival. It wasn't released until 1980, maybe 1981, but all the songs were written and performed live throughout the late 1970s.
Who are Winterhawk?
They're a band from the United States.
Not at all like Hawkwind.
No, not at all like Hawkwind. No, they're like a It's hard rock. It's a lot of twin guitar, soulful vocals, like somewhere they're like a high energy Wishbone Ash.
Okay.
Like shades of Thin Lizzy, but maybe that's just a twin guitar. Probably more like shades of Allman Brothers, but more aggressive. So they're like they're a heavy metal band trapped in this like classic rock kind of super melodic rock band's body.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's unreal. I think you'd really like it. Yeah, the one album they did, it's called Revival. Definitely worth listening to, man. Please hit it up.
It's their first album.
It is their first and only album.
And they called it Revival.
They called it Part 2, Lucifuge. Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to jump on that, and it was it's totally justified. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I might have some. I think there's a song on there called Revival, and it kind of, if you know the story of the band, they label troubles, and they never got the support they deserved.
Yeah.
So it was one and done. It's actually a miracle. I'm glad that they got the album out, because it just as easily could have been like called it quits and either not recorded it or not have been able to release it.
Pretty rare for a band to only do one album in the 70s, right? Everyone sort of did 3 at least. Yeah.
Joe Blow down the road did 3 albums in the 70s, you know, like, because it was, the infrastructure was there, you know, if you wrote enough songs. Yeah, so it's a bit of a shame about Winterhawk, because when you hear it, you'll hear the competence and the inventiveness. Yeah. Like, it just totally didn't get their due. And I think there's 2 singers in the band. There's like a super high Geddy Lee sounding guy and like a more mid-range soulful guy. Yep. They trade vocals.
A bit like a Deep Purple Burn situation.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, you might say. The song I want to talk about is called Free to Live, and it is perfect.
Good.
It is perfect, man.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
11 out of 10,
It
maybe.
is 11 out of 10. It is a perfect song. It's a song about leaving on grand adventures. So the subject matter is right on point. Yep. A lot of changes, a lot of twists and turns. And particularly in the third act of the song, there's like this instrumental adventure where the guitars go on this dueling thing, and they the riff keeps building. It keeps repeating and building. And each time you think it's hit the ceiling, you're like, there's no more intensity that can be garnered from this riff. They just hammer it again, and it just, the ceiling just like, I'm like, where is this? This can't possibly...
Yeah, right.
This can't possibly go higher into the stratosphere, and it just does. And it's a magnificent song. It's one of the most unrated rock songs of the times.
Yeah, nice. So, I look forward to listening to that today.
Yeah, Free to Live. Check that out.
It sounds like an impressive feat of recording for the time. If it keeps sort of building in that way, when it would be relatively limited. In terms of overdubs and.
Yeah. Because in the same breath, it's raw, not poorly recorded, but raw, like pretty simple instrumentation. Yeah, okay. So you would think that with limited instrumentation, there's only so much room to go, but the power is in the performance, man, and in the structure. Like they just keep hammering it. Yeah. It's so good, man. They did release a live album, like in the mid-2000s, I believe, or late 2000s, and it was a recording of them playing, actually the year before, it was a recording of a 1979 or 78 concert. Oh, right. So a lot of the songs that ended up on the album were on this live album. Yep. The album's called There and Back Again. And it's...
Again. There and Back Again. Our first release.
No wonder the record label were confused. It was like, Revival? Where was the first one? Yeah. It's probably part of the reason that confused the public and the record label. But There and Back Again is... And it's a great counterpart, because you hear some songs that ended up in the album, and you hear some songs that didn't. And the songs that didn't, are just as good. There's a couple that are even better than the songs that are on the studio album.
Saving them for the second album.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've only got 40 minutes worth of music to record, and obviously had a wealth of material. They would have recorded a follow-up that would have been just as good. And
did any go on to be in other bands, or was it...
Not that I can tell.
Became accountants or whatever.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah. But with a hell of a story to tell.
They went there and back again.
Yeah, indeed. And speaking of underrated 1970s epics, I got another one for you. Deep Purple, April, from their third album, which was pre-In Rock.
Right, okay.
Deep Purple released 3 albums before the famed Mark II lineup with Ian Gillan. And on their third self-titled album, the album closer is called April.
I haven't heard that.
It is it's right on point. Speaking of subject matter, it's loosely based on the Eliot Wasteland, the poem, the T.S. Eliot poem.
Yep.
And yeah, multi-sectioned in a very Deep Purple way. Like it's very 3-act, and it's very like it's got the start kind of has this drone spaghetti western thing happening where you feel like you're watching The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Yep.
And then the middle section is super just like unaccompanied classical. There's like a violin concerto part in the middle.
Yep.
And then the third act is the rocking closer part where Richie Blackmore can do his sick neoclassical sweeps.
Yep.
And the original singer does his absolute best, and it's a great song. Yeah, probably the underrated Deep Purple song. And look, fair enough, because you put it vocally next to Ian Gillan, and you know you're gonna see the shortcomings, right? That's fair, but musically and structurally, you know, a well-deserved title of epic and a great song.
Excellent. I was thinking, and maybe with your time constraints, it doesn't come in. Well, it would become an option, but Heaven and Hell, the song, does that classify as an epic for you? Because it was too short for me.
Yeah. Sabbath, as a whole, we're going to be like, I was interested to see what you're going to say about it, because like a band that, well, they're the first heavy metal band, so they are naturally epic in nature.
Definitely epic in so many ways. Yeah.
But they just had longer songs as well. You know, Wheels of Confusion, I think the opener of Volume 4, that's an epic song, but is it an epic? I don't think so. Heaven and Hell is an epic song, but is it an epic? I don't think so. Like, it's just, you know, a mini epic. But it is so epic in nature.
Yeah. Children of the Sea is another one.
Yeah. Put Dio's vocals on anything and you're like, wow, epic.
Yeah. Oh, well, Rainbow would...
Yeah, well, Stargazer, that is absolutely an epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Heaven and Hell, I'm with you. Yeah. It's, that's the grey area. That's the minutia.
Yeah, so I had to cut it off my list.
Yeah.
Sorry,
guys.
Which was disappointing for me. Although
sorry, Black Sabbath.
There's potentially like the live version they did, because Dio, he would do it in his solo career, and then when Heaven and Hell existed as a band, they would of course play it, but they'd extended it to have two extra verse. Yeah,
so I wrote new lyrics.
Yeah,
for a third or fourth verse.
Yeah, so I've got a Dio DVD of like probably 2003 or something, where it's a couple of extra lines, and then the Heaven and Hell concert was those extra lines plus some more lines. So maybe that pushed it up to that extra part would have potentially got it to sort of 7 minutes 30 or something.
Got it over the line.
Potentially, I'd have to check.
Yeah, we'd have to put it to the test, put it to the board.
Yep.
You know.
Live it'd be unusual to have, you know, if you just had a list of songs and their classifications like Heaven and Hell studio, live epic,
studio version epic adjective, live version epic noun.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we going to go to those lengths, Ray? Of course we are. All right? Of course we are. We're going to go back to the lab and we're going to work this out. Sidelong tracks, and this is definitely more of a progressive rock thing. This is not a heavy metal thing. So this is very early 70s psychedelic rock, progressive rock thing.
2112 maybe?
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Was that just one side?
That's one side. Yeah, was it just one side? Yeah. I consider those separate from what we're talking about.
Okay.
Because I think a sidelong track is, while a lot of them are epics, I think they've got a different agenda.
Yeah, okay.
When someone's setting out to write it. And again, this is very grey. This is grey area stuff.
Yeah, because this is really a format issue as well. Because, you know, the length, if it's on a CD release, your Odyssey song would have been a sidelong song.
Yeah.
because it was a CD, it was okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, finish your thought.
No, that's it. I don't really want to go too deeper in that because I don't want to talk about the definition of progressive rock versus. I don't want to. I kind of want to avoid that hornet's nest. But I just wanted it to be known for anyone out there yelling at me in their mind that, like, yes, of course I'm thinking about Rush. Yes, of course I'm thinking about. Yes.
Is there a day or an hour that you don't think about Rush?
Yeah, between 4 and 5. No, I'm most usually thinking about Rush. But yeah, of course I'm thinking about Rush, and of course I'm thinking about Yes and Pink Floyd, and these are bands that wrote epic songs, both in nature and format as well. But yeah, I think progressive rock, a lot like stoner and the doom stuff.
Yep.
That's the nature of that music, so it doesn't always separate itself from the standard fare of said band. So that's where it gets murky. The waters are murky. You know?
And a lot of the time you'll get, 4 songs that are separate tracks, but they just run into each other anyway, and probably were recorded all at once. So it gets greyer.
Then we're talking about album craft, It's
even speaking of Judas Priest before, the Dreamer, Deceiver, those 2 tracks together.
Yeah, it's just one song. I don't even know why it was...
Yeah, so that sort of gets into epic territory.
Yeah. To me, that's one song and it's an epic. Dreamer, Deceiver is one song and it includes that coda part to me. And that's about 7.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's the way I view that.
Yeah. That's acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's acceptable?
Yeah. Because, Priest would not be how many epics would they have?
Yeah.
One?
Not a great deal. Yeah, Victim of Changes and Deceiver. Like, apart from that, songs that...
They'd average under 3 minutes almost for a lot of the 80s.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Beyond the Realms of Death is in my mini epic thingo because... I would call it an epic ballad. Yeah. A lot like you were saying about Tears of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Like, Beyond the Realms of Death is an epic ballad. Like, it's 6.5 minutes maybe. And it has the rise and fall of an emotional ballad, but epic in nature. And one of the most epic guitar solos of all time on Beyond the Realms of Death. So,
with a name like that, it's got to...
What a title. Beyond the Realms of Death.
Yeah.
Come on. It demanded...
a lot of things.
It demanded me speaking eloquently there. Yeah. Like, demanded a better pronunciation. No muttering.
Is there a better title? There wouldn't be many.
There are not many better titles than that.
Yeah. Everyone's just aspiring to that. That's the benchmark.
Yeah. That is an excellent song title. It was fated to be. It's one of those things where it's like it could have gone either way. Like Glenn's got this really nice chord progression and he shows it to Rob, or however the song was written, or Rob has this song title and he's like, I've got this song title, and Glenn's like, well,
we're going to live up to that.
We've got to live up to that, you know. And I think both of them are equally possible, and both of them equally, what am I trying to say here? Both equally worthy of inspiration.
Yep.
In either direction. So, but I'd like to know which way it was. Well, on that incredibly epic note, and being that it's Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Shall we wrap it up?
We'll bookend it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If we've missed any, we would love to hear what epics you've got that we haven't mentioned, because we love epics and we would like more epics in our lives. We run out of time, so they do take a long time. But
as is the nature.
But what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks a lot for listening. Share it with a friend if you are so inclined, and we'll be back pretty soon with I don't know what the next topic will be, but who
knows? Who knows what lies great beyond that ocean that we sail. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Appreciate it. Keep it real.